Brethren, the presentation that I've taken from Solomon today is entitled An Introduction to Masonic Learning and Development. Why is Masonic Learning and Development a priority? Before I commence the presentation, I'd like to give you a quotation from T.S. Eliot. He said, "We have had the experience, but we've missed the meaning." That's a very poignant and interesting quotation, and I'd ask you to keep it in mind and during the presentation, and I'll explain a little more later. Freemasons have always been encouraged to make a daily advancement in their understanding of the craft. Traditionally, much of their learning came from experienced brethren within the lodge. Today, even if the lodge has knowledgeable members who can provide authoritative answers to these questions, many of our members want answers more quickly than most lodges can provide. They look beyond their lodge to gain knowledge and insight. They turn to websites, social media, new and young Masons clubs, metropolitan, provincial, district grand lodges, and other groups for answers. Regrettably, many sources of information are unreliable or misleading, as we have seen when questions are posed to Masonic social media groups. The answers can be diverse and conflicting, often resulting in confusion, frustration, or disappointment. Some brethren lose heart and give up their search. There is a risk that such brethren will leave the craft. For many brethren, their satisfaction or dissatisfaction with Freemasonry is directly linked to ready access to opportunities for credible and meaningful Masonic learning. This trend towards user-driven inquiry has created a demand for metropolitan, provincial, district grand lodges and others to organize, manage and deliver Masonic learning for their members. United Grand Lodge of England has developed Solomon, an online repository of credible Masonic learning materials to support brethren and to assist metropolitan, provincial, district grand lodges in the provision of Masonic learning. The relevance of learning to Freemasonry, an understanding of learning and its associated concepts has many applications to Freemasonry. For example, an understanding of the techniques for learning, teaching and recalling information can help improve the learning and delivery of ritual. Stimulating curiosity and encouraging questioning can trigger personal quests for learning and provide quality and credible self-learning resources in a variety of forms to suit different learning styles, will all help Freemasons satisfy their curiosity and make a daily advancement. It is rarely sufficient to offer learning in only one form, for everybody or on one occasion. As with all communication, often the message has to be offered in multiple forms, on multiple occasions for it to register and be acted upon. Long-standing members of a lodge may have forgotten what it was like to be a new Freemason, may take their own learning for granted and not appreciate how difficult it can be to develop an understanding of Freemasonry. An experienced Freemason who has absorbed a lot of Masonic knowledge and perhaps performs Masonic tasks such as delivering ritual or carrying out the duties of a Masonic office to a high standard may well have the skills required to impart their learning to others in a way that is easy for them to learn or understand. Papers and presentations need to be delivered in an interesting, engaging, even persuasive manner if the learning is to be retained. One-to-one coaching and group-based training from skilled coaches and trainers can help brethren to undertake the various roles and tasks involved in running a successful lodge. The introduction of changes, whether in rules, processes or practices, should be accompanied by various means of delivering learning, including briefings, social media, training workshops, etc., to help people learn and implement the changes. Masonic learning and development programs should usefully be aimed at future officers and role holders who are often more aware of their learning needs and more motivated to learn. Sometimes those with the greatest learning needs do not take up the learning activities that are offered. For example, long-serving lodge secretaries might not attend seminars if they think they already know all they need, despite changes in rules and processes creating new learning needs. To engage such brethren in new learning, they have to become aware of their learning needs so that they become consciously incompetent and ready to learn. Personal feedback delivered in a sensitive and supportive manner is an effective way to achieve this. An effective provincial provision for Masonic learning and development will be built around the learning and development cycle. Such a provision will involve different people with a different range of skills. For example, the provincial grand orator, provincial grand preceptor, or provincial education officer may, with the assistance of others, develop a range of offerings to satisfy curiosity and develop Masonic knowledge and understanding, making full use of Solomon. Whilst a provisional training officer or other members of the team may be tasked with identifying learning needs, developing and delivering learning solutions, and evaluating their effect. Ultimately, the learning and development lead will be responsible for ensuring that the learning and development program as a whole works alongside the members' pathway to deliver the overarching strategic plan and support the learning and development needs of all the brethren and companions. That is the end of the presentation as such. But at the beginning, brethren, I asked you to keep in mind the quotation from T.S. Eliot, who said, "We had the experience but missed the meaning." He went on to say, "An approach to the meaning restores the experience in a different form." I wonder what he could have meant as it's applied to ourselves as Freemasons. I think many of us might, over the years, have been very concentrated on learning words and performing those words in ritual, without necessarily understanding the interesting and poignant meaning behind those words. And it is that understanding of what the words mean that is the best education that a Freemason can have. Thank you very much for your very kind attention, brethren. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation and you will be able to take from it and move forward with your training needs. Thank you, brethren.